A new flight could take off from Columbia Regional Airport as early as February. Why the advisory board thinks the addition will benefit Mid-Missouri.
2 Florida inmates are back behind bars tonight after escaping from a Florida jail. Why authorities say more arrests are on the way.
And Republican Senator Ted Cruz finds himself a victim of online threats. The reason between the violent tweets. KOMU 8 News at 9 starts now.
Live from Studio 8A. Coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News at 9.
The Columbia Regional Airport wants to add a morning flight to Chicago. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Elena O'Connell. Today we spoke to the airport's advisory board chairman who says American Airlines is on board. The plan is to add a flight that would depart Columbia between 6 and 7 a.m. The airport advisory says this fits right into the strategic plan. The board also says this would not only benefit Columbia residents, but people all over the area.
A number of folks do business in Chicago, so this would enable them to catch an early morning flight, conduct business, and then come back to Columbia that evening. Or they could connect with other flights going to various places around the country or around the world.
Cecil says Chicago is a major hub for American. The Columbia City Council has to vote on the plan before it can be approved. If the council approves the plan to add a morning flight to Chicago, the flight will begin in February.
Washington lawmakers are talking today about what follows the epic budget battle that just ended last week. Most lawmakers say they've learned lessons from the shutdown fight and will do whatever it takes to avoid another, but not everyone feels that way. Brian Moore has the story from Washington.
The Senate's top Republican vows there won't be a 2014 sequel to the government shutdown.
There'll not be another government shutdown. You can count on that.
The government is funded and the debt ceiling raised until early next year. Even as Republicans and Democrats try to find compromise on spending, Republicans are fighting to make peace with each other.
There's so many things we can do in a positive agenda and get off of this. Keep up the fight against Obamacare, but don't shut down the government.
Another shutdown is exactly what Texas Senator Ted Cruz says he won't rule out if that can help kill Obamacare.
You know, I'm not serving in office because I desperately needed 99 new friends in the U.S. Senate.
Cruz insists he is not angling for the 2016 presidential nomination. Hillary Clinton, though, is not being quite so adamant.
Let's get out and get that vote on November the 5th. Thank you all very much.
She's campaigning for gubernatorial candidate and friend Terry McAuliffe in the battleground state of Virginia. She's also reminding voters that her hiatus from politics is over. Brian Moore, NBC News, Washington.
While some may be considering the 2016 presidential race, most in Washington are focusing on surviving next year's midterm elections.
And just because the U.S. government is back to business as usual, there are still more disagreements between Democrats and Republicans. Even members of the same party argued with each other to try and reopen the government. On Wednesday night, Missouri's 2 Democratic congressmen and Senator Claire McCaskill voted yes to passing the debt bill, while all of the House Republicans voted no. But Republican Senator Roy Blunt broke from the pack and also voted yes to the bill. Senator Roy Blunt issued this statement saying, "The federal government spends too much and borrows too much. Those must be the 2 main targets after today's vote. And until we get our spending under control, debate priorities, set priorities, and live within our means, that's what American families have to do, and that's what our government must do." Republicans and Democrats alike will have to find a long-term budget solution before the current deal ends on January 15th. We'll have more on how the 16-day shutdown affected the U.S. economy later in the market report.
It's earnings season, and in this week's market report, KOMU 8's William Joy tells us whether some local employers lived up to expectations.
Some major local employers had mixed earning report news this week. This week, PepsiCo reported earnings just barely better than expected, but Frito-Lay, which is under the PepsiCo umbrella and employs locally, saw 7% growth in its America's Food segment. Meanwhile, IBM, another local employer, saw shares drop almost 7% this week after it reported weak revenue overall, except for its cloud business, which went up about 70%. And we can't have a market report without mentioning the government shutdown one more time. Rating agency Standard & Poor's is saying the shutdown cost the U.S. $24 billion in decreased output and productivity, which is considered fairly small compared to the $3.5 trillion the government brings in each year. Analysts say the bigger loss is in consumer and business confidence. And that's all for your market report.
A Jefferson City woman is dead and 3 others are hurt after a car crash yesterday afternoon. One of the 3 injured is a 2-year-old. A crash report from the Missouri Highway Patrol says 2 vehicles crashed while traveling westbound on Highway 54 around 6 yesterday evening. One passenger, 22-year-old Maria Martinez, was first taken to Capital Regional Medical Center and then to University Hospital, where doctors pronounced her dead. Her daughter, 2-year-old Carla Gonzalez, has serious injuries.
A St. Louis County man is dead today after police shot and killed him during a domestic violence incident. St. Louis County police say Florissant officer were handling a dispute earlier today. They went to a second address to talk to an individual involved in the alleged domestic dispute. And when officers arrived at that location, a man confronted them with a weapon. Police exchanged gunfire with the man and fatally shot him. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
2 people are facing federal charges tonight after a large shipment of methamphetamine was found in Oklahoma. 4 other people were also arrested in southwest Missouri. Oklahoma deputies found 15 bundles of drugs in a car on October 11th. After installing a tracking device in the car, deputies sent the car and a driver on a scheduled visit to Monette. Federal agents later made the arrest at a local residence. More arrests are expected in connection with the 2 prisoners who used forged documents to escape their life sentences.
The men were recaptured Saturday in Panama City, Florida. NBC's Leanne Gregg has the latest.
State your name for the judge.
Jenkins. Convicted killers Joseph Jenkins and Charles Walker making separate court appearances Sunday morning to face escape charges. The 2 are accused of using fake release documents that said their sentences had been revoked. Jenkins was freed from a correctional institution in Carabel, Florida on September 27th. Walker walked out of the same prison October 8th. Both were captured peacefully at a motel in Panama City Beach on Saturday, ending the manhunt but leaving unanswered questions, including who aided them. Authorities say the men were waiting at the motel for someone to arrive from Atlanta to take them out of state.
I can tell you that there will be more arrests. Obviously, we will be backtracking to those who helped carry out this fraud.
Officials learned about the escapes only after the mother of Walker's victim contacted the state attorney's office about a letter she received notifying her that Walker had been released. As a result of the mix-up, the Florida Department of Corrections announced changes in protocol to require a judge, not just court clerks, to verify an early release order.
We have also spent the last week going through and looking at our policies, our procedures, our protocols, and how we can assure and the changes we need to make to prohibit this from happening in the future.
A procedural review as the criminal investigation continues. Leanne Gregg, NBC News.
Jenkins and Walker are being held without bond until their next court appearances Friday.
Tonight at midnight, same-sex couples in New Jersey can legally get married. In September, a New Jersey judge ruled in favor of gay marriage. The governor appealed it, but on Friday, the New Jersey Supreme Court unanimously ruled the state will recognize same-sex marriage starting tomorrow. Some couples are planning to tie the knot as soon as they are starting after midnight. Authorities are investigating a series of tweets threatening Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz. The tweets appeared to have started on October 14th. The person behind the Twitter account blamed Cruz for the recent government shutdown. Cruz's staff released a statement saying they are aware of the threats and contacted authorities. The tweets apparently originated from a Twitter account in New Jersey.
A masked gunman on a motorcycle attacked a wedding party at a Coptic church in Cairo tonight, killing 3 people, including a child. Egypt's Interior Ministry released a statement saying that a man, a woman, and an 8-year-old girl were killed in the attack, and at least 9 others were wounded. The ministry did not offer a motive for the shooting. Egypt's Coptic Christian community has been targeted by Islamists to accuse the church of backing the army's ousting of President Mohamed Morsi in July. It's going to be at least 2 more days away from home for 100 residents of Gainford, Alberta, Canada. They had to evacuate their town early Saturday morning after a derailment and explosion. 2 of the 13 tanker cars that derailed are still burning. 1 car burned itself out overnight. Federal investigators are in the area looking into the accident, but they haven't been able to get very close to the scene. We have had an absolutely gorgeous day out here in Missouri. So Rosie's here to tell us, will this stick around or is it going to be more like wintry fall than spring or summery fall?
We're just making adjectives out of everything, and I hate to say it, but yes, wintry fall is what we do have on the way. We have a cold front moving into mid-Missouri late tonight, so that means that the temperatures that you're currently seeing right here across mid-Missouri, these are actually a little bit warmer than we'll ever get to for highs for tomorrow, and honestly for a good portion of this next week. Looking at a lot of clouds with just a slight chance of showers concentrated north of the mid-Missouri viewing area late tonight, but we actually have a very key word in the forecast as we're looking ahead at your next week. That key word is frost. We'll talk a little bit more about what we'll be expecting for top temperatures, of course our overnight lows where that word frost works its way into the forecast, and we'll also talk about our next chance of rain. Stay tuned, we'll be right back after the break.
Never be surprised.